Hello. In The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, we are introduced to the Republic of Gilead, a totalitarian society that has replaced the United States after environmental disasters and falling birth rates. In this new regime, women lose nearly all of their rights. They are sorted into rigid roles, and handmaids are coerced into forced rape with powerful men. The story follows Offred, a handmaid who quietly remembers her life before Gilead, while trying to survive constant surveillance, fear, and control. But this isn't just a story about the future. Atwood uses Gilead as satire, exaggerating real issues like sexism, political control, and attacks on women's rights, to warn us how easily freedoms can disappear. Our documentary will examine how this fictional society reflects problems that still exist today.
Before Gilead, life looked like ours. Women had families, careers, money, and independence. They could read books, make choices, and control their own future. By showing these ordinary freedoms first, Margaret Atwood reminds us that nothing about equality is guaranteed. It can disappear faster than we think. In The Handmaid's Tale, fertile women are forced to become handmaids, dressed in red and renamed after their commanders. They are valued only for their ability to reproduce and be fertile. As Offred says, we are two-legged wombs. Their identities shrink until their bodies are all that matter. Yet even in silence, resistance still survives. The handmaids whisper names to each other in the dark, remembering who they once were. Offred once said, "We learned to whisper, almost without sound. In the semi-darkness, we could stretch out our arms. When the ants weren't looking, and touch each other's hands across space. We learned to lip read, our heads flat on the beds, turned sideways, watching each other's mouths. In this way, we exchanged names from bed to bed. Alma, Janine, Dolores, Moira, June." These small acts, sharing memories, forming friendships, holding on to hope, all become quiet forms of rebellion. Identity itself becomes an act of defiance. Gilead may be a fictional setting in the book The Handmaid's Tale, but its warnings are real. Atwood uses satire to reflect issues we still see today: political extremism, attacks on women's rights, and the loss of personal freedom. By exaggerating these problems, the novel asks us a question, and I leave you to ponder this. If we stop protecting our rights, how close are we to becoming Gilead ourselves?
It's hard to imagine life in Gilead. Women can't read, work, or even make choices about their own bodies. They're basically treated as walking wombs who are only good for sex.
Yeah, I get that. But some people might argue that Gilead is trying to solve a problem where falling birth rates and environmental collapse was leading to this dystopia, to this doom. From their perspective, strict control was necessary in order to survive as a society.
Necessary? That doesn't justify stripping people of identity and freedom. Offred doesn't even have her real name anymore. She's of Fred. It's psychological control, not survival.
True, that is true. But you could also say that Gilead gives structure. People like the commanders believe that it maintains order. Women don't need to compete for men. Maybe some rules keep people safe, but obviously it comes at a cost.
Safety that comes with fear isn't really safety, in my opinion. Handmaids live in constant surveillance. Even whispering a name could get them punished. And look at how they silence women socially, intellectually, and spiritually in Gilead.
I see your point, but couldn't we also say that Atwood is exaggerating intentionally? Maybe Gilead is warning us about our future. It's a mirror to our world, not a blueprint. But by pushing it to extremes, she makes us think about how laws and social norms can slowly strip people's rights away.
Exactly, and that's the scary part. It's not entirely unbelievable to the reader. It forces us to ask my question: if we stop paying attention to freedoms now, how quickly could our society slide toward control like Gilead's?
Yeah, in that sense, Gilead is more than fiction. It's a conversation starter about power, gender, and morality. But maybe that's the point, to challenge us before things get too extreme.
Thanks for joining us today, Professor Trubery. Why do you think The Handmaid's Tale resonates so much with our world today?
Yeah, you see, that's a great question, and I also want to just thank you for having me here. In The Handmaid's Tale, Atwood's satire isn't just aimed at one group, like, it's universal. And one analysis by author Stephanie Hammer says, seen from this perspective, The satire in The Handmaid's Tale directs its criticism towards all of us, feminists, non-feminists, women, and men. It warns us of the imperceptible technology of power, of the subtle domination of women by men, and of our unconscious imprisoning of each other and ourselves by ourselves. And I know that sounds complicated, but long story short, Atwood is just warning us of our future as technology is ruining our relationships.
So what you're saying is, this isn't just a fictional society. This is a warning about power itself.
Exactly, Mr. Rockefeller. You really hit the nail on the head. Gilead exaggerates real-world dynamics, showing how control can slowly become normalized and accepted, even by the people living under it. It's not just about extreme violence, it's about the psychological, the social, and the cultural mechanisms that reinforce obedience and fear. For example, rules about language, rules about dress or behavior create invisible barriers that prevent women from forming connections or asserting independence. Like another analytical piece by Professor Fields-Pasek describes it as a manifesto of Gileadite ideology which entails risk and personal sacrifice. They point to the liminal quality of the state as a temporary reality which is to prepare for the fully reborn civilization. That phrase really captures it. Gilead presents itself as a necessary step towards new society, which makes it easier for people to justify oppression and as something for the greater good.
And what about the personal impact on women?
The personal impact is profound, and it's deeply human. Women lose not just their rights, but also their identity and autonomy. Offred's experience shows how even small acts of memory can become powerful forms of resistance. The novel says, her name isn't even Offred. She has another name, which nobody uses because it's forbidden. She tells herself it doesn't matter, but what she tells herself is wrong. She keeps the knowledge of this name like something hidden. Some treasure she'll come back to dig up one day. This shows that even when society strips her of everything, her sense of survival, it survives internally. Remembering her real name, her life before Gilead, and her personal memories becomes an act of defiance. It emphasizes that control can oppress the body, but it can't completely erase the mind or the spirit.
Offred describes how the system reduces women to their biological function. Quote, my presence here is illegal. It's forbidden for us to be alone with the commanders. We are for breeding purposes. We are two-legged wombs, that's all, sacred vessels, ambulatory chalices. This language shows how Gilead strips women of individuality and humanity. Gilead also controls knowledge. Women are forbidden to read or write, cutting them off from information and independence. By removing access to literacy, the government limits women's ability to question authority or challenge the system of Gilead. As one analysis explains, quote, Margaret Atwood adopts the dichotomy of literacy and orality in a new gendered way, depicting a power structure designed to suppress women by restricting them to an oral cultural tradition. By controlling language and knowledge, the regime maintains its power and prevents resistance.